A very good evening to one and all, and thank you for your patience. I know we are late by 2 minutes to start today's session. My apologies. I'm Sujata, and I would like to welcome you to today's IELTS Success series. And we're going to have lots of fun with the right information coming your way. And this session can be a huge success if you participate, absolutely without second thoughts. Okay. So what are we going to do today? This is the slide that I prepared for you. And as you all should know, today's session is devoted to task 1. So whether you're taking an academic task 1 or you're taking a general training task 1 in the writing section, I believe everyone as a candidate should be aware of the question types that the task may have on the test day, correct? So understanding the question types, and once you know the question types, before even you get into the strategies, it's important to know how are they assessed, how are they marked. The good thing is IELTS, being an international exam, it is so student friendly that it has kept the public banned descriptors completely accessible, so amongst the 3 test partners, any website that you visit, IDP, Cambridge or British Council, the public banned descriptors for writing, speaking exclusively are there. So why should you look at a marking criterion when you're not an examiner? How would that help you step up, your performance? We'll have some discussion and mindful exchange around that. Okay. And yes, today's session is all about the 5 must-dos. Okay. So I am waiting to show that slide, but that's almost halfway towards today's session. Okay. And of course, when you're looking at strategies, marking, question types, I think the session cannot get completed without showing you some samples, and looking together into those samples. And to wrap up today's session, whatever we've been talking, some do's and some don'ts, and you're welcome to add to the list. Okay, I've just prepared some crisp points which are much, applicable across every candidate. So let's look at something that you all should know. Everybody says, writing task 1 should be spent on this much time, so what is that time? What happens in that time? So this is what a task 1, an academic task, will bring for you. And 20 minutes is standard, which is recommended. Nobody is going to come to your seat and say, hey, don't do further. So of course, it's you and it's your time, 60 minutes in total to do the complete writing. But how much time do you spend here? It's up to you. So I'm going to play a video so that you get some important tips upon time management and whether it's okay if you spend 25 minutes on a task and not 20 minutes as recommended. Let's hear one of our fellow colleagues from the IELTS network. Okay, I'm going to play a video for you and I'm going to reselect the screen. If it's still showing a yellow, okay, let it come to a green zone. Yeah, now it's a green zone. So I'm going to play the video now for you. And the purpose of this video is this.
Well, it's recommended always, you're told to spend 20 minutes on task 1 because task 1 is half the value of task 2. But you may find that task 1 is quite difficult for you and you may find that you do task 2 quite easily. Now, if that is you, spend 25 minutes on task 1. It's up to you. If you can do a good task 1 in 15 minutes, spend 15 minutes on it, but you might take a little longer with task 1.
So I hope those who were like really feeling, oh, I find task 1 tough, how can I reduce my time spent on it? Of course, the strategies will help you today. This session is all about that. But even, after applying the strategies, instead of 20 minutes, you're taking a 25 minutes, but you still can balance a good essay in the remaining time, just be okay. What works for others may not work for all. Okay. So be kind to yourself and be ready for success strategies. Okay. And see what is really bothering you. And idea is to give an exam absolutely with full optimism and perform to your best. Okay, time here and there, of course, that can be a concern because you can't get beyond 60 minutes. Yeah, the script will be taken away once the clock strikes 60 minutes, whether you completed it or no, if it's a pen and paper. And if you're doing a computer based, the screen will close. So that's how it's going to be. Okay, so we're going to watch something more, and those things are going to help you on the things that will help you set the stage for writing task 1 as a whole. Okay, so marking criterions, other things. There's a wonderful input that's there in this videos, because I believe you should use different mediums in any session, and I do like to bring some powerful videos which you can go back again whenever you want to really look into any of the areas you still want a double look at, okay, or a second look at. So let me set the screen. And
what are the most common question types in task 1?
In task 1, we have 2 different question types, one for the academic paper and one for the general training paper. The general training task 1 is always going to be a letter. It might be a formal letter, a semi-formal letter, or an informal letter, a letter to a friend. Those are the only 3 question types that will come up in general training task 1. In academic task 1, on the other hand, there are a wider range of question types. These usually focus on a graph or a chart or a table, or possibly a flowchart or a process diagram or some other graphic. Candidates will be asked to identify the main trends and to highlight the most important data. It's very important that candidates remember to include all of the data presented when they're answering academic writing task 1. Moving on to task 2. For both the general training module and the academic module, the essay that the candidate will be asked to write is more or less exactly the same. These essays will be asking candidates to present their opinions, maybe to evaluate and even criticize or challenge an opinion presented in the question. They may be asked if they agree or disagree with something and to provide evidence for that. Or they may be asked to suggest a solution to a problem. In any case, it's going to take the form of an academic essay for which there should be a good introduction, some good main points, and a good conclusion in order to get a high band score. Examples of the sort of essay types that come up can be found on IELTSessentials.com.
So this was like in general for writing. I didn't want to kind of break your momentum and only restrict you towards the task 1. I know the focus is task 1, in my presentation slides, but when you're, watching something, it should be absolutely without any interruptions. Okay, I hope most of you were listening intentfully and mindfully, and I hope by now you know what kind of questions are there in the task 1, whether it's a letter or it's a report. Okay, and report is for academic student, and this is what anybody and everybody present today should take back, because more or less 7 band marks the premium universities across various in various countries. Canada in specific, with the recent changes in the SDS route, is even okay to take or allow students to give them better opportunity to take get them into the university even with an overall 6. So that means if you don't score a 6 in one of the skills or any of the skills and still you can make an overall 6, you still have the possibility of an admission if you meet the other conditions that the university has for the admission. So that's about the SDS route to Canada, but you should always strive for something more so that your overall English enhancement supports you in the new land, okay, because it's out and out English out there. So in this session, you should know a task achievement from just being an overview in band 6 becomes a clear overview in a band 7. You know, in a band 6, it's the user or the candidate is presenting only a data, adequately, so adequately is like, okay. But when it's a band 7, the data presentation is clear. Okay, the clear word is what makes a band 7 more communicative, stepping on out of intermediate category to upper intermediate and higher. Now, if I look into coherence and cohesion here, and it says using cohesive devices is something that comes in any writing, but not using them accurately can limit you to band 6, and if you use them in a variety and you use them optimally well for the purpose that they can fulfill, then you are meeting the requirements for band 7, okay, and above, just not 7, it can go to 8, 9 too. Now, lexical resource, that's the that's the vocabulary, those are the group of words sitting together, the collocation. So vocabulary is like adequate when it's band 6, but it's like a wider range with less error density for a band 7. So if you are a band 5 and you want to go to band 6, you should be looking at a public band descriptor and see, oh, at band 5, I can do this, but this is not what is going to get me my admission in the universities overseas. So I need to step up. And for that, if I have to revise my grammar, I will do it. If I have to revise my coherence cohesive devices, I will be on that. And if my vocabulary collocations are too repetitive, then I'll work on that too. So see, this is how the band descriptors can motivate you. They're not very complicated piece of Excels. It's just about how you see. So I always tell my students to look at one column at a time. Give yourself short goals. Work band 5 task achievement to band 6 task achievement. Because if the first column of marking is, strong, then the other columns also become strong gradually. So work on task achievement, move to coherence cohesion, and each may take 3 to 4 days to stitch or more than that, depending how intenseful and how reflective is your preparation. Okay, it all depends on you. So here we are on the 5 must-dos, which is the session main highlight. And you can't do a task if you don't understand the question types, and you need to practice every kind of question so that you're not trying a new strategy on the test day, because then it can be more time consuming and it may not come the way you want it to become. It's not always the case with everyone, but most people feel more confident if they have looked into and revised and reflected the strategies well. And that's what I believe, if you know what the examiner needs, then sooner or later you'll work out a way to get it there in your mock sessions and take it, to play on the exam day and make sure the scores meet your requirement. Yeah. Now, if you're doing a task 1 for an academic, there's another must do apart from these 2 standard must do's. You should have an art how to paraphrase the question. You must be wondering, oh, paraphrase is applicable across any writing. Yes, you're right. But, when we look at a letter, you'll see how the columns here will come. Yeah. And of course, if you're doing a writing task 1, you should practice overview writing, good sentence structures, you should know how to use and show a comparison, with a good conjunction. You should be very, very thorough with your commas if you can, because they help you to bring, better communication and a stronger sentence variety. And I would also recommend a semicolon if you can, but do the basics first, at least a comma and, some contrast conjunction so that it just works for you. Okay, so adverbial linkers, anything. Now, what about a letter? I believe, yes, paraphrase happens there too, but the intro of the letter is supposed to be objective, whether that's a formal letter or an informal letter. Of course, in an informal letter, you will have some, nice greetings also, so that, it's the human connect that you can show. But the purpose of the letter should not be delayed, even in an informal letter. And without spending too many warm-up lines, you should get into the letter objective in the opening paragraph. And where do you get it from? From the stem of the question. It's the rubric is so clear, it's so explicit, it's beautiful how the task one comes. Everything is like just there for you. All that you need is the right set of 4, skills, and you're on to it. And whenever you're writing a letter, whatever you're doing in the body paragraph, it has a purpose. Every bullet that is attached, every bullet point that is attached, to the main question becomes the main idea of one of the body paragraphs. And that just can't be there as a liner. It has to be supported. It has to be amplified. A body para should look like a body para. I know the word limit is just 150, but that's minimum. You can step up a bit and, remember to use certain strong verbs to make your English more objective, more succinct, and also, use some descriptive words. It just kind of amplifies your entire grammatical, proficiency as an evidence. And last but not the least, I believe the power of editing can really make your submission better. So never finish writing without an editing time on hand. And what to edit and how to edit, I'll try covering also for you. Okay. So let's go further. If we look into this and we look into an assessment criteria, we see task achievement as a first column. When we look at the task achievement as a first column, as candidates, what do you understand from it? So next 3-4 slides will help you understand these terms. Okay, I have brought in certain quick checklists for you so that you can start relating and transferring it to your actual work. Okay, so for this, you need to start focusing on what the content is saying rather than focusing on, Jyotika. Yeah, I would appreciate that more. So here it is. Task achievement refers to your ability to answer the question properly. And in order to demonstrate the same, you have to, before submitting your work, need to do a quick check. A, have you provided a clear and accurate overview of the visual information? So this is in context to a academic task report. And did you accurately describe the key features? Look at this word. At times it's a line graph and we do not look carefully into the numbers, and that can reduce our band. So we cannot create information, we are reporting information, and accuracy of data should be there all time. So the key features, the trends, the comparison, because it says report, summarize, and compare. So the 3 functions of the task with the word limit in totality makes a task achievement. And it's not at all something that you really have to learn. These checkpoints, these are like basic checkpoints, which you can definitely in your mock practice, keep as a reminder next to your computer screen or in your copy. And as you continue to embed them into your day-to-day work, you will be able to remember them on the test day too. It's all about kind of getting some habits, good habits. So how to check your work, how to make sure task achievement is for a higher band score. These are the elements. Have you addressed all aspects, the 3 aspects that I said? And as many data points are there, they need to be covered. And how to cover, what to do, a sample can give more inputs on that. It's going to come once I finish all the 4 criterions for you. Okay, and always write more than 150 words. Writing less is not meeting the task achievement. All right. So we are in the next. I hope task achievement is going to be absolutely met with confidence going forward. And one of the things which I really like, and I make sure I spend more time with every candidate, because this is a slippery path, coherence and cohesion. Of course, what the question is asking is what you're responding is coherence, but what is cohesion also altogether? Both are projecting your ability to connect your main ideas and show a strength and connection between lines and lines to paras. So everything from the start till an end is beautifully logically stitched together as a writing submission, okay, be it a report or a letter. And all that you can really do to check whether this is really there or no. So are your paragraphs in a logical order? So for a report, what's a logical order? Of course, an intro could be followed by an overview, and then the body paragraphs for evidences, or an intro, the two body paragraphs, and the overview towards the end. There is no other way than these two combination. Now, many of you may want to say, ma'am, what about a conclusion? Well, the task doesn't say give your opinion. It doesn't say you need to speculate. So what are you concluding? So conclusion is not a demand, but that's, our own fossilized way of writing, that we don't feel a writing is complete unless we don't have a conclusion, really visible. So really up to you. But the conclusion should not bring something which is repetitive. A conclusion should not bring a point that you have missed. And in a report, you really don't need a conclusion. Okay. So look at any of our samples that we have for you. We try giving as many different writing styles because we cannot make writing prescriptive, and you will understand, how different styles still work, because every one of the submissions every submission only has one objective: to meet the 4 criterions of marking to the full effect. Okay. And when I say every para needs to be purposeful, that means every para has a purpose. So intro is an intro, body, is all about evidences, but you cannot have a very, you can't make it chaotic, and you cannot just write what's coming to you or to your eyes. You got to train yourself to keep the sequence and the progression logical. By that, I mean, if in the body paragraph, you're talking about a highest data, then the other high points also need to find synergy around it only as an evidence. They cannot be far distant from it, because there's an opportunity for you to show that grouping by using beautiful cohesive devices. You can say this is followed by, or this is closely followed by, the 3 countries, for X, Y, Z. Okay. Now, apart from the paragraphs being logically ordered, apart from every para having a purpose and it's not too repetitive, the cohesive devices, which are so beautifully used by each one of you, you need to make sure that you use them more purposefully. By that, I mean, using cohesive devices just to attract marks is not how cohesive devices are put into your writing or integrated into your writing. They are used as linkers, okay? So these linkers can be conjunctions. These linkers can be referencing pronouns. These linkers could be vocabulary substitution in terms of the word forms, in terms of antonyms and synonyms that you bring, and also an informal ways ellipsis, and we're going to look at this together today. Okay. I have kept something ready for you to understand this. We have a blog on IDP IELTS website, and this is specific to cover coherence and cohesion. And all these are explained with examples, but I'm going to cover this one for you in today's class. Rest you can see more at your end, because I've given you the strategies, and those strategies are just paper-based strategies. Unless you don't try them, they cannot become your strategies, and there could be slight changes around them, which is absolutely okay. You can't be 100% adopting somebody's strategies. You need to see what is working for you. Okay. So I am moving the screen or scrolling the screen specific to what I had said. I want to cover what's ellipsis. It's just about when you remove a word or a phrase from a sentence because you understand the meaning of previous sentence. So there's some kind of reduction in the repetition of any word. Let's understand this with the help of an example. If I say we have one card in the first clause, and then I bring a comma and I bring a but conjunction, which is a coordinating conjunction, and that means I'm making a compound sentence. We have one card, but we need two. Now, it's entirely up to you when we say, but we need two cards. However, as you may agree, the second time cards word as a vocabulary is really not needed. So many of you are already exercising this cohesion, but you may not be knowing the name of what category of cohesion is this. So now you know in today's session, that's ellipsis, okay? So it says, she thought her opinion was more important than Sarah's, So see, when you do comparison, there is so many times that you may be doing this. But next time when you do this, you'll be smiling and you'll be really confident to say, oh, I have done some cohesion apart from just using linkers. And I know all those linkers will not be front linkers alone, okay? Now, since we are here and there's a sample here, I don't want you to read the sample, but I'm just going to highlight some things so that you see things relevant to coherence cohesion. Now, this person has done an intro, this person has done an overall, has done 2 paragraphs for evidences because this is a line graph. So it's data run. So the evidences are in the 2 body paragraphs. Now, in context to coherence and cohesion, this person is signposting to make it clear that this is my overall para. And when he does that, he knows that the purpose of the overall para is to provide a summary. So he should be doing 3 to 4 things cohesively well, in this paragraph. So let's see how his cohesion works altogether. He says the number of white and milk chocolate bars consumed decreased over the period, while for dark chocolate, it increased. So see, what increased? The number. But did we say the number again? No. What apart from that have we used? A beautiful contrasting linker here, which is a while. And every one of you is so comfortable using a while, correct? You know the comma never comes immediately after while. It's always when one clause finishes and the second clause is about to come. Please give me a thumbs up if you're able to understand, because it's something absolutely on what we are discussing. You need to experience devices and you need to be able to spot it. Once you start noticing, you start using them, okay? Shivam, thank you. So, the very first paragraph has ellipsis and most of you do not know this term, correct? Now, with confidence, you taking it along in today's sessions, back with you. Now it says at the start of the period, milk chocolate bars were the most popular. Wow, a superlative degree. I like it, okay? And then he brings a very different conjunction and that's a but. That means he or she is again contrasting. It says, but were overtaken by white chocolates. So they were overtaken. So look, which verb is being used? Overtaken, yeah? From this to this period, following this, so a brilliant linker. How many of you have ever tried this in an overall? I don't see that. I really don't see that when I see scripts, yeah? What are we looking at? We're looking at improved vocabulary. We're looking at strong cohesive devices which are naturally integrated. What are we doing? We're looking at pronouns. What are we looking at? Conjunctions. What are we looking at? Things which are substituted, things which are presented with ellipsis. These are all cohesion and you can't do them for decoration. I hope you understand why many people take more time, because they're bringing in things artificially. So how you can avoid this? by just strengthening your intro first. And when you're confident with the intro, start working on overall. Once you're confident with overalls, come to body paragraphs. It's entirely up to you. Sorry, how many days you may take. So don't book an exam unless you're scoring more than what you need on the test day, because your skills wouldn't change just because it's an exam day. Your skills have to be nurtured in the mock sessions to give productive output on the test day. Okay, so we're going to go back onto the presentation, and you know this is a blog which is so informative, like many other blogs. You can take a screenshot if you wish for this, please. Yeah, I'll still keep it there. I bring blogs from across IDP websites. I don't limit myself only to India as a domain, okay? Now I'm going to the lexical resource, and most of you know that it's an ability to use vocabulary accurately and appropriately. But many of you don't know that using a keyword again and again doesn't mean a repetition necessarily. You know, because keywords may not always have a substitution, but the chunk in which they are knitted, that can be unique. By that, I mean the group of words around that keyword makes a new collocation and makes it less repetitive and makes it more positive for your flow, because your topic words and task words need to be seen across your write-up. So when you see something on the slide in just 1 or 2 slides further, you will see, you know, vocabulary just comes up naturally. Moment I see a line graph, I know, oh, you know, this kind of vocabulary, I connect with a line graph. Oh, it's a table, I connect this. Oh, it's a non-data driven illustration, I connect with this vocabulary. So that's the preparation you need to build in. And how to build in? By building this, what I have so beautifully knit for you. You will not find it just like this. It's just there. It's part of the band descriptors, but I've converted that to a question for you, because we tend to relate to questions better as humans. Okay. So I'm going to show a graph and how reaction to vocabulary should be natural in just one more slide. Okay. But let's finish this. So hopefully you will look at your writing and you will ask yourself, have I used a wide range of vocabulary, and is this vocabulary accurate or appropriate? Can I make some changes, because I feel there are some minor corrections needed? So do you have the editing time for do? If not, then work on your time management. Have I demonstrated the ability to paraphrase? What's paraphrase? I need to understand, you know, how verbs are very important to be paraphrased if we can, and how the same positioning, you know, or the chunk should not be just copy pasted. That's where the paraphrase makes it unique. Okay. Is there evidence in my writing for domain specific vocabulary? There has to be a reaction. Okay. And let's see this after this. So in grammatical range and accuracy, it's about your ability to write sentences with as less mistakes as possible, because, you know, certain mistakes may impede communication, may delay communication. Okay. And in order to do so, you should be looking at what range of grammatical structures am I presenting? Am I only limiting myself to simple sentences, more of coordinating conjunctions, that is compound sentence feature, or am I using the subordinating conjunctions effortlessly? So if you're not using subordinating conjunctions, start using them. If you do not know how to use 2 commas for non-defining clause, get into it. There is nothing that can make a difference unless you don't relate to what's the gap. And at times we can self-realize the gap, or if we, otherwise we need an expert to help us. Oh, you're lacking in this and this, and you should start looking into this. So now you know you need a sentence variety. Some simple sentences are okay, some compound are okay, but if you have to demonstrate an advanced structure, you know, of sentence structure, then complex compound sentences should come easy without incorrect use of comma, please. Okay. So your verb tense is very important. Subject verb agreement, I don't know why it's a slippery path, but it is. Just get your rules right, please. And be mindful about your capitals and full stops. Even some of you don't care for that, but the bands are pulled down. So editing should be your strength. Now, what you see here is what I was hinting towards. Then something comes and I'm looking at the highest, lowest, and the most trending trend to get my overview in place. At the same time, I need to wire my mind to react. Oh my God, I see a dramatic fall. Oh God, I see a significant decline where it was and where it's going. Start reacting in the vocabulary in your day-to-day life, because then only the vocabulary will come naturally on the test day. You cannot mug it up and dump it onto your paper. It has to be a part of your written discourse in your day-to-day life. Those could be your WhatsApp messages also, okay? So when we were all watching Chandrayaan 3, we wanted a positive landing. Yeah, we wanted a safe landing. So there were a lot of words, positive words, which were coming and floating just before, this beautiful satellite vehicle could land there. So that's how we are as humans. We have our chosen vocabulary for certain things because it makes communication act. So this is how a line graph would be for you. Now, our response, you can take time to read it. I've already shown you coherence, cohesion on another response. Now you can enjoy body paragraphs for how percentages are put in with different prepositions if you can. I give you 3 minutes. First para, second, and at least one body para. Focus on the use of prepositions before the percentages. That's a beautiful variety. 3 minutes, silent read, please. Write your thoughts in the chat. So in a webinar, raising hands wouldn't help. Writing in the Q&A or chat would help. A question in a Q&A. If you want your thoughts to be shared in a chat forum, please understand rules of a webinar. Raising hands will not help here. I see questions here, which I hope have been answered. I have spent a lot of time on coherence, cohesion. You need to go back on IDP website in case you still have a confusion, because I covered everything that can make a band 9 coherence cohesion today. Okay. And formal, informal is going to come, Vernica, in the next 2 slides where the writing task letters would start. Wait for that. And there's no maximum words. You should write above 150 words. Okay. That's another question. And vocabulary is everywhere, Sir Good. If it's an outer syllabus exam, the vocabulary cannot be prescribed. Correct, Sir Good? So having such a request is something limiting your own potential. Please start looking at samples and you'll see a lot of variety and a lot of similar vocabulary when it's a line graph, a similar vocabulary when it's a table graph. And where can you find these trustworthy samples or authentic samples? Of course, on IDP website, on Cambridge English website, and on British Council website, because they are the one who are running this exam, and Burlington English has been recognized as an authentic material too. So whatever Burlington English provides in the books that come when you register with IDP, you can make use of those samples. Okay. All right, I hope you've looked at the variety of the preposition. That's grammatical range of just prepositions. And look how beautifully the adjectives are sitting. And how the data is not limited to numbers alone. It's saying a fifth of the total. And, the determiners the, and nothing is being eaten. Then a beautiful referencing pronoun, this is there. How many times is and being used? Hardly 2 times. Okay, so look how less can you use an and, how less can you repeat conjunctions, where are your commas. Use an editing software to see what are your top 3 mistakes for that week. Stitch them. Go to the next week and see, are you still on the same page as top 3? Then your practice is not on the right track, because 1 week is sufficient to start stitching your top 3 and reducing them. Okay, that doesn't mean that you won't have new mistakes the next week. There are 9 parts of speech, and at times anything can go wrong, but you got to know what are your common mistakes, and at least you can stitch them. So how can you edit your work? That's for everyone to look at. I made some specifications. Okay. All right. Those are the do's and don'ts before we close the academic task 1. We've been talking all throughout. It's for you to look at the information now on through the screen. I give you 2 minutes to read through. And see what the don'ts say. Do not copy too many words from the input language. I know certain keywords need to be taken from the rubric of the question. However, the collocation or the way they are there in the question and how they come in your language, it should not look like a copy paste, okay? Because the group of words, when they change, the accuracy is the first thing that you need to look into, of course. Yeah, and describe each element. So that makes writing very monotonous, and probably one of the segments of comparison and contrast may not get fulfilled if you take each item as an independent item. There are some groupings that you need to do and start noticing them in the samples that we provide you, please, so that you can also bring it in your own writing style. All right. So academic task 1, writing task 1 for academic is now getting closed. We are now focusing and moving our attention onto the letter writing task, which too for a GT student would be 20 minutes. Recommended is more than 150 words, and any kind of a letter can come. You already did watch a video in terms of formal, semi-formal, or an informal letter. Can someone tell me what kind of a letter is this? Formal, informal, or semi-formal? Write in the chat. Read the question. All right, well done. It is an informal, it's like a friend. So Shivam, Amrut, Sharanpreet, Monish, when you write a letter to your friend, what are the things that you like to include? Forget it's an IELTS exam. I'm saying if you were to write a letter, what is the main purpose of that letter? Just downloading an information or giving instructions, or connecting with your friend also, Shivam? What, as a person in your day-to-day life, if you had to write a letter to your friend, to your family member, what will be your main purpose? Just give an instruction or connect, ask their well-being, do a fond farewell. It actually reflects your emotions. There are a lot of feelings that go in. Now, when I see this, it's A says recommend. So it's also taking the best time of the year. So Sharanpreet, if you were to answer the first bullet point in your letter, which is on the current topic on the slide, what are the things that you will do in that paragraph? So if I say every bullet point should have one body paragraph, I'm saying should, I'm not saying must, okay? So please look at the choice of words here. So if I'm saying this has to have one body paragraph, and I know my word limit should be 175, 180 because time is of essence, how many lines, Sharanpreet, would you do? How many full stops would you do? You need to have some game plan, some strategy. You can't just go on and on, right? So well-being and everything, Sharanpreet, becomes an intro, no? And you also write the purpose there. Yeah. So at least 3, 2, 3 things should be there, because at times, Sharanpreet, even 2 things can be really elaborative if you agree. It's just how we weave our ideas, correct? So let's look at a sample together. Everyone have a good look, because the question wouldn't be there on the next screen. But when you look at the sample, I may ask you something. Okay? So please be very watchful of the time that you're spending here. Okay? So if I say, this friend of mine is Andrew, it's up to me if I want to give him a name. And I write an opening paragraph saying I was pleased to hear because of this reason. So I'm writing to give you some information about to think about before you come. So the purpose is being met and not too much time has been spent on this. Yeah, but what we can do, Sharanpreet, we can also write a small greeting here if we want. But the choice of vocabulary, the tone, that shows it's a friend. The use of apostrophes here show it's an informal letter. So we are doing lot of good things for us to show to the examiner that we know the ingredients of an informal letter. Every sentence that we write, we are playing on all 4 columns of marking. I want marks in the task achievement. I want marks in the grammatical range. I want marks in coherence cohesion. I want marks in lexical resource. Every sentence is contributing to my score. I cannot take that sentence as just a warm-up sentence for myself. Okay. Once you are writing, everything that you write is getting assessed. So now the next paragraph here is starting with most people travel. So see, what is a person doing? Not overgeneralization, because had he or she left most and had started the sentence, I see people traveling to Brisbane in the summer months. Okay. So it's about what you see. And even if I don't write that, I'd say people travel to Brisbane in the summer months, or I can say people usually prefer to travel in the summer months. So I need to moderate my language. A. B, I can't just write on behalf of what people do as a whole, because I don't know so many. So what is best to do? Use a quantifier. More and more people, some people, few people. Okay, so this is something which looks very tiny, but these are game changers. Okay, here I use but, I use so. This was also fanboys, which is a compound sentence. Then I used another fanboys but, and see, I'm using a comma before them. But I am also looking at things which can show more range. And I make sure autumn is the best season between April and June. And then I'm starting with some referencing, and I'm starting with it's. So I've not brought in a full sample. All samples are there in our practice books and online website for IDP Cambridge. You can have a more intense look on any of the samples you wish. My purpose is very different here today. My purpose is, from this session, you should know how important is paragraphing. Whatever I've said for paragraphing before for task 1 academic, I say the same for letters 2. And I want you to understand, for you, not only by not doing a greeting as such, but just getting into the purpose very objectively doesn't mean you're doing a formal letter. The choice of words is a tone. So look an informal letter, because I used a sample for informal. It has all these features. It has phrasal verbs. It uses, adverbs like this. It uses contractions, and it uses I and you. I shouldn't be using contractions if I'm writing a formal language. And I should be using more power verbs and more formal verbs if I'm communicating to the dean of my college or probably the CEO of my company. So there are things to be done in terms of choice of words. And for this, you need to practice on wide range of sample questions. So if you have 6 days as a practice day and Sunday you just rest, so what you're going to do, you're going to try at least 3 different kind of letters, only in the informal category on Monday. You're going to try 3 different kind of letter topics only on semi-formal on a Tuesday, and don't get into formal too soon. Mix and see whether you're able to keep informal and semi-formal balance. Do you also understand how do you categorize semi-formal? So all this is just there for you on IDP IELTS website. There are more than 100 blogs, beautiful videos, small bite videos too, because we know you all are very busy. So we've done everything to connect with you. All that you got to do is start visiting the website and using the resources because they are there for you. Okay. Now, last but not the least, you need to know the criterions are standard for a task 1. But when it's a letter, everything that the letter asks you to do should be covered, without any hurry in your write-up. And the choice of vocabulary from start to finish decides your fate in the first column, which makes 25% of your total marking in task 1. Then 25% is attributed to coherence cohesion, lexical another 25%, and grammatical range and accuracy 25%. So see, everything is having the same radar. However, I can say loud and clear with full confidence, if you don't do the first thing right, that means you miss on a point or you don't elaborate it for the examiner to understand what you're projecting, then probably you're missing an opportunity of coherence cohesion there. You're also missing on the target vocabulary there. You're missing definitely on the grammatical range and accuracy for something that you've not covered. So see how these also come under the negative radar. So this is something that you should get equipped with and start looking at samples to notice task achievement and then imbibing task achievement and achieving task achievement. And then focus your attention on all the other marking areas one by one. You cannot run the whole marathon at one go. You need preparation on each smaller block to make a complete whole. Okay. What are the do's and don'ts that I want to summarize today's session with? I want you to be answering everything that the question is saying. You need to make sure your opening is purposeful and it's objective. It covers the reason for why you're writing. And paragraphing is a must. You don't need any numbers. You don't need any bullet points. And please be very systematic in your format. If you're leaving a line, blank line after intro, you should continue to leave a line after every para ends henceforth. Okay. And please, don't forget to add a rounding of sentence at the end of the letter. What does it mean? That, you need to close the letter, and closure should look like a closure. And if you have a tone which is too strict, for example, you're telling your neighbor that you're going to be not there and you want his help to take care of your pet. So you can't be commanding your neighbor, right? So your choice of words have to be pretty friendly. Otherwise, that neighbor doesn't owe anything out of humanity. He may want to do, but he may not enjoy what you want to, what you are asking him to do. So you can't command your friends and family. And even if you're an angry consumer, the anger is not in terms of unnecessary vocabulary. It's about purposeful vocabulary and a respectful vocabulary, even when you're a complainant. Okay. So how can you reach to the best tools that IDP gives? We have a Facebook page. We make sure you get something good from us, and we do a lot of exercises. We have a dedicated YouTube channel. We keep producing videos on different areas that we spot that the students need from us, and we really look into your writing scripts, your speaking things, what is working for you, what is not working for you, and we want to give you those tools. Start using the portal. Okay, and what's in for today? That's the closure. Okay, anything you want to ask me apart from the questions that are already there? And Vanika, a formal reply to informal prompts. I hope that's clear. You can see samples more than what I showed, yeah, on the IDP website, because you'll have all the time. I'm just being given an hour to complete all this, right?